What's up, beautiful people? How are you doing? The mastermind of fun, joy, and happiness is right there on your screen. And right about now, it's the time for the exclusive access. And that is a moment where we get to see what happens behind the veil and get an introspect with different individuals, personalities, n'abantu ab'enjawulo ababeera nga bakola ebintu eby'amaanyi. But for now, I really want you guys to really pay respect for the person I have. We have a person who has contributed to the UG hip-hop culture and tradition in Uganda. He has elevated a couple of personalities, and his name stands to be remembered. Musajja abadde w'amaanyi era nga eggwanga alikiikiridde mu bifo eby'enjawulo. For now, allow me to pay respect to Mr. Babaluku.
What's up? Pogamba otya?
Kyakabyo kugwamu.
Steady anti-corona mbuuza mpya.
Anti twadda ku Wakanda
tutandikira awo.
Kiri kitya?
Ali steady obulamu.
Sazeeko totegedde naye byonna biggwa.
Ebyammwe bwe bityo naye empewo zaabadde nteefu so kirabika muzze nga mulina kye muleese ekyamazima.
Era ffe tutambulira ku mazima. Anyway, welcome to the exclusive access, which is the free pass.
Thank you for having me.
So I would like you to talk to the viewers out there and give them an introduction.
I mean, introduction, Stanislas Sajabichin Tumukasa Walavyo Kubo, also the artist known as Babaluku. Pioneer, Luga Flow, legendary crew, Bataka Squad representative.
Okay.
Bavubuka, All Stars Foundation founder. Back to the Source movement, Builders Collective, I mean, to mention, there's a whole lot of, engagements, that I've been a part of that represent what I embody. So for me to introduce myself, Obanzo Kwe Anjura, Ediaba Tuze, Amani Gaba Manji Nadala, Empewo zaba jajja ziriwo litoliweka, kukkiriza n'emikisa gya Katonda egitubeezezaawo okubanga obulamu bukyatuweebweddwa okubanga tutuukiriza ebyo ebyawandiikibwa bye tulibaawo okukola.
Kakati tutandikire ku linnya Babaluku. Babaluku, what idea did you get coming up with such a good initial?
I didn't come up with the name.
Okay.
It's a friend of mine. I was actually in New Jersey in the USA. And my last name is Babaluku. So I told him Babaluku, and he couldn't pronounce Babaluku. So then he said Babaluku, I say, and when he said Babaluku, there was something, the way he said it, I was like, yo, that's dope.
Okay.
So I chose to, take on that name from his, way that he was trying to say my name. I failed to, but I was like, yo, that's powerful. Okay. I've always wanted an MC name that sounds African. I used to go by the name called Sniper's MC. Okay. That's when we used to, rap in English, But I needed a name to identify me to the culture. And so I felt like, Baba, Luku, which, years later I got to find out what the name means, Because Baba, you got Baba or Baba, father or elderly, right?
Yeah.
You
Baba.
got that part,
Yeah.
And then when we were doing the Wataka anthem, like 12, 13 years ago, me, AY, and Joe Akali, by the time I got to Dar, AY told me that Luku meant energy or electricity, right?
Okay.
And so it started like Baba of energy, you know what I'm saying? And it defined itself in that question. I was like, I guess that's why I'm always energetic, Okay. That's why I always feel like I got enough to be able to share, build, and connect, and give, and elevate others,
Okay.
So yeah, Babaluku, is our father of energy.
Okay. So Babaluku, let's profile you because it's several. What no the woina with the things you do is quite a lot.
Yeah.
I pay respect for that. But let's start on this basis of you trying to achieve what you have in mind that you don't see in place. So tell us about the starter point of everything that you put in place.
The starter point is that I grew up in Canada. I left Uganda at the age of 12. And growing up in Canada, my father died, and so I had to come back to Uganda for the funeral. Okay. And when I came back for the funeral, I had the opportunity and a privilege to stay here for an entire year. And that is that entire year that I really got to reconnect and understand the fabric of my community and, have memories that would live with me from there on forward. So when my pops died, I would return back to Canada, but it took me 11 years before I would ever step foot in Uganda again.
Okay.
But the time that I was here for my father's funeral gave me my connection into the music industry, and that was 1995. You know, it gave me the opportunity to connect and make friends, you know, with peers that today will become big artists in the country, peers who also are passionate about creative expression, and peers who used to sit in my living room, you know, dreaming. You know what I'm saying? And so, you know, my conception of my beginning, you know, with what I saw was that, you know, there was a big need for the youth, you know, to have a voice foundationally. Because, you know, what brings me back to Uganda was never family.
Okay.
You know, I came back here for hip-hop culture, and I had to be authentic and very pure.
Were you proactive before you had come? Were you...
Yeah, I was already proactive in America in different youth groups in Canada.
Okay.
You know, I grew up in Ontario, right?
Ontario,
You know, my mom still lives, you know, in the same place where I grew up.
Mommy, hey, how you doing?
You know, but, you know, from that place, you know, there was a lot of racism.
Okay.
You know, a lot of, like, you know, segregation that was moving within the concept that you're black and then you're living in a white community. So you had to readjust to new ways of living, new understandings. Like, you don't understand why people hate you.
Yeah,
You've just come from Africa where it's always happy and smiling.
Yeah.
And now you got guns to your head. You got police putting you on the ground. You know, so in my conception of becoming an immigrant child in Canada, you know, I started to find out ways that I had to fight for myself to exist on that side.
Okay.
Right? And so, you know, from that I became an activist. You know, so especially because I literally, you know, had private police officers, you know, come and, you know, attack me in a minute and have me on the ground, guns to my head. And that moment, you know, made me realize that I wasn't safe where I was.
Okay.
So I started to look for safe places and ways to be able to understand my new beginnings in North America. Okay. You know, and so with that story being said, you know, it's what's cued me to appreciate my country more, you know, so because I, you know, that memory versus what I remembered home would always make it, you know, the phrase of like home is always best.
I
You know
would definitely want to know how you felt when you were hearing about your motherland, the Pearl of Africa, and that is happening to you in a state that you were maybe raised from, but it's not your ancestral belonging.
Yeah, I mean, we're not safe. I don't care what anybody says. Just because you got money doesn't mean you're safe in North America. Okay. You know, everyone is, you know, a statistic. You know, when it comes to the, you know, the racism in those lands and due to the history of what's been going on for more than, you know, 400, you know what I mean, years of conditioning, right? And so we, as people who come from Africa, tend to, you know, not take that seriously until it happens to you.
Exactly.
You know, so when it happened to me, man, I understood that I was in a jungle. I had to start learning new ways of maneuvering. Okay. Like, it goes all the way not only from police, but also from, like, you know, finding jobs and trying to get work. You know, and you always have to put on two face because you're black.
I know.
You know, when you got dreads and, you know, it's like you're like, you know, third base, like looked upon to have the opportunity or privilege. Okay. So there was so many things that didn't make sense. But it's those things that gave me the opportunity to think about freedom and what it means to be liberated. And so my idea of hip-hop culture was to find liberation. Because hip-hop gave me the space to literally tune into self-actualization, self-identity, and also to reclaim my power to be able to serve my people. So with that understanding, man, that's why I'm the culture, that's why I'm hip-hop, and that's why I'm